There is a moment in your life when something awakens inside you, a moment when you finally realize that nothing in your outer world has ever been the true cause of your success or your struggle. It has always been you, your inner speech, your imagination, your assumptions. And once that realization dawns on you, everything changes. You begin to understand that the power you once searched for in the world has been living quietly within you all along, waiting for you to notice it. That is why today, I want to share with you something incredibly simple, a phrase so small and yet so powerful that it changed the direction of my life completely. When I first used it, I did it in faith, not hope, not desperation, but faith. And the results came so quickly, so naturally, that I could hardly believe how effortless it felt. I used that one phrase, and I won the lottery 8 different times, not because I was lucky, not because the odds favored me, but because consciousness favored me, because I dared to believe. You see, the universe responds not to your fears, not to your doubts, not to your wishes. It responds to the state you occupy, responds to the living reality of your inner world. When you choose a state of abundance, abundance finds you. When you live from a state of certainty, certainty becomes your experience. When you decide that you are the one who things work out for, things begin working out for you in surprising, delightful ways. There is a beautiful passage that says, "Let the weak say, I am strong." Notice that it doesn't say, "Let the weak try to be strong," or "Let the weak hope for strength," or "Let the weak ask for strength." It says, "Let them say it, declare it, speak it, claim it." You claim a thing as true inwardly, it begins to show itself outwardly. That is the power of inner speech. That is the power of assuming your desire fulfilled. When I first began experimenting with this phrase, I did it gently, lovingly, with a sense of playfulness. I didn't force it. I didn't strain. I didn't beg. I simply entered the feeling of already having what I desired. And the phrase that unlocked everything for me was this: "It is done." Simple, soft, certain. Not loud, not desperate, not emotional, just a quiet acceptance that what I desire is already mine. I would repeat it in the most relaxed, natural way, as if I were confirming something I already knew. I would walk around with it in my inner world as though I were carrying a secret that filled me with warmth. Every time I said it, I didn't speak to the world. I spoke as the one who already had the result. And something remarkable happened. The world shifted. Not dramatically at first, subtly, gently, the way dawn begins before the sun actually rises. Small wins, little synchronicities, unexpected financial blessings. And then the large wins began to appear, not from effort, not from strategy, but from alignment. Every time I used that phrase, I could feel something in me settle into a deeper knowing. And that knowing is the real key. Your imagination is not a place you go to escape reality. It is the place where reality is created. It is the workshop of your destiny. There is a quote that says, "As you believe in your heart, so shall it be." Notice again, it does not mention belief in the mind. It says belief in the heart. The heart is your feeling state, your inner conviction, your assumed identity. When you feel something is true, the world reflects it. When you feel abundance, abundance comes. When you feel chosen, you are chosen. When you feel fortunate, life begins treating you like someone who fortune favors. I remember one night vividly, the night before my biggest win. I didn't visualize numbers. I didn't visualize newspapers or celebrations or money in my hands. I only imagined one thing, the satisfaction of knowing that it was already done. I felt the relief, the calm, the gratitude. I felt the joy of a desire already fulfilled. I whispered the phrase, not to force anything, but to seal it in my consciousness. It is done. And I went to sleep in that feeling. When I checked the results the next day, something inside me smiled, not in surprise, but in recognition, because I already knew. My inner world had already told me the outcome long before the outer world confirmed it. This is the secret so many overlook. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. You manifest your dominant state. And your state is formed by the conversations you carry within yourself all day long. If your inner speech is filled with worry, your world will mirror worry. If your inner speech is filled with fear, your world will mirror fear. But if your inner speech says, "It is done," then the world must rearrange itself to match your inner truth. You see, Imagination is not pretending. It is not make-believe. It is the only creative power in the universe. Everything you have ever experienced, every win, every loss, every blessing, every setback came from a state you once occupied within. When you understand this, you stop fighting the outer world. You stop trying to manipulate circumstances. You stop chasing outcomes. You simply assume the state of the wish fulfilled, and you let life do the rest. You let life bring the bridge of events. You let life carry you into the fulfillment of the desire you have already accepted. There is another passage that says, "Speak those things which are not as though they were." It is teaching the same principle. Do not wait for the evidence. Do not wait for the sign. Do not wait for the physical proof. Begin to speak from the version of you who already has it. Begin to live from the identity of the one who already received it. When I use that phrase, "it is done," I did not say it to convince myself. I said it because I knew that consciousness creates, and if I accepted something within, it had no choice but to show itself without. I said it because the feeling of completion is the signal that the manifestation has been sealed. Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. When you begin to treat your imagination as real, your world will respond more faithfully than anything physical ever has. The world is not creating your thoughts. Your thoughts are creating your world. I've seen people transform their finances, their health, their relationships, their opportunities, simply by changing the inner story they tell themselves about who they are. A person who says, "things never work for me," is declaring a state. A person who says, "I am not lucky," declaring a state. A person who says, "I am always provided for," is also declaring a state. Which one do you think the universe responds to? It responds to all of them, because all are states, and consciousness fulfills whatever state you occupy. When you say, "it is done," you are not ignoring the present reality. You are selecting a new one. You are stepping into a higher version of yourself. You are choosing the timeline where your desire is already fulfilled, and you're claiming it with quiet authority. Think of the farmer who plants a seed. He does not dig it up every day to check if it's growing. He doesn't panic. He doesn't beg. He doesn't doubt. He simply plants it, waters it, and trusts the unseen process. He knows that the invisible is working long before the visible shows proof. Your imagination works the same way. You plant the seed in consciousness, you water it with faith, and you rest in the knowing that it must come to pass. There is nothing mystical about it. There is nothing complicated about it. It is simply the law of consciousness responding to the state you occupy. And the beautiful thing is this: it does not matter how big your desire is. It does not matter how unlikely it seems. It does not matter how many times you've tried before. What matters is your inner acceptance. What matters is your willingness to believe that you already have it. Once you adopt that feeling, even if you hold it for a few seconds, the seed is planted. The phrase that changed everything for me did not work because of the words themselves. Words have no power unless you give them power. It worked because I believed the meaning behind it. It worked because I said it from a place of inner certainty. It worked because I felt it as truth. And you can do the same. You can take that phrase into your own life. You can say it with love. You can say it with faith. You can say it until your inner world shifts and your body relaxes and your heart softens into the beautiful knowing that what you desire is already yours. Because it is. And the moment you accept it as done within, the world will begin moving in ways you never imagined possible. The right opportunities will appear. The right paths will unfold. The right blessings will find you, not by luck, not by chance, but by the law that has always governed your life from the inside out. It is done. Let that be your phrase. Let that be your knowing. Let that be the quiet power you carry with you as you move through your days, and watch how life responds to the certainty of your inner world. When you begin to live from this inner assurance, something soft but profound happens inside you. You stop waiting for signs because you become the sign. You stop chasing after proof because the proof begins chasing after you. You stop wondering if things will work out because you know that everything has already shifted in your favor the moment you accepted the desire as fulfilled. There is a gentle confidence that rises within you, a confidence not based on outer conditions but on inner truth. You begin to walk differently. You begin to think differently. Even your breathing changes, becoming slower, calmer, more settled, because your spirit has taken its rightful place as the creator of your experience. You no longer see yourself as someone hoping for a miracle. You become the one through whom miracles flow. People may look at you and wonder why things begin aligning so beautifully for you. They may call it luck or timing or coincidence. But you and I know better. You know the real cause. You know that you have entered the state of one who is chosen, favored, guided, and supported. And that state cannot help but produce a life that reflects it. When I first realized this, it felt like the entire universe opened its doors to me. Not because I became more worthy overnight, but because I finally stopped arguing with my own greatness. I stopped doubting the power within me. I stopped questioning whether I deserved abundance, and I simply allowed it. I allowed myself to feel wealthy. I allowed myself to feel selected. I allowed myself to feel the joy of receiving long before anything physical arrived. And this is where the magic truly began. The more I lived in that feeling, the more the physical world rearranged itself to match it. Unexpected checks, opportunities I never saw coming, conversations that opened new doors, moments of divine timing that made me smile because they confirmed what I already knew inwardly. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was alignment. You are not manifesting money. You are manifesting the version of you who already has money. You are not manifesting a lottery win. You are manifesting the state of someone who expects good things to find them. You are manifesting the identity of the one who is already blessed. And once you inhabit that identity, the outer world must comply. It must follow the pattern of the inner state you have chosen. Nothing can prevent it. Nothing can delay it. Nothing can stand between you and what is already yours in consciousness. When I used that simple phrase, I did not repeat it hundreds of times. I didn't chant it or force it. I used it gently, the way you whisper something to someone you love. I let the phrase wrap around me like a warm blanket. I let it settle into my heart until it felt like the most natural truth in the world. It is done. Whenever doubt tried to creep in, I didn't fight the doubt. Fighting only strengthens what you fear. Instead, I shifted my attention back to the feeling of completion. I returned to the inner satisfaction of knowing the outcome was already secured. And each time I did, the world responded accordingly. This is something many people never understand. You do not win because you try harder. You do not manifest because you worry more. You do not receive because you chase. You receive because you embody. You receive because you accept. You receive because you assume the feeling of already having what you desire. Everything begins in imagination. Everything begins in the unseen. Everything begins in the quiet acceptance of a new inner reality. When you learn to trust that, you become unstoppable. Your circumstances no longer intimidate you. Delays no longer discourage you. You stop judging your progress based on what you see, because you know that what you see is only the echo of an older state. You know that the moment you shift your inner world, your outer world must follow, and life becomes peaceful, effortless, beautiful. Your desires stop feeling like distant dreams. They feel close, familiar, almost inevitable. You begin to meet life with open arms instead of clenched fists. You begin to expect blessings. Not because you're trying to be positive, but because positivity becomes your home, your identity, your natural way of existing. This is the true gift of understanding the creative power within you. It is not just about winning money or achieving goals. It is about reclaiming your identity as the creator of your world. It is about remembering who you truly are beneath the noise, beneath the fears, beneath the stories you were told. It is about stepping into the highest version of yourself, the version who knows that nothing is impossible, nothing is out of reach, nothing is too big, too bold, or too miraculous. And when you live from that state, life begins to show you wonders you once thought were reserved for others. You see that the universe was never holding anything back from you. It was simply waiting for you to align with the version of yourself who could receive it. As you continue to live in that inner fullness, something extraordinary happens. You begin to recognize the subtle shifts in your reality long before the physical manifestation appears. You notice the signs, not because you are searching for them, but because you are aligned with them. You feel guided in ways that seem almost effortless, almost too perfectly timed to be random. And these little winks from the universe reassure you that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. There were moments on my own journey when I could feel the manifestation coming, not as excitement, but as a calm certainty, like the quiet before sunrise. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. It was gentle, peaceful, and unmistakable. I could sense that the inner work had already been accepted, sealed, and completed. And each time, life reflected that calm confidence with outcomes that exceeded anything I imagined. This is what happens when you remain loyal to your inner world. You stop being swayed by appearances. You stop reacting to temporary setbacks. You stop allowing the old state to pull you back. Instead, you hold the new state with love. You nurture it, you rest in it, you allow it to grow. And eventually, it becomes more real to you than the outer world. That is when the shift becomes permanent. You begin to realize that the world is not happening to you. It is happening from you. It is a mirror faithfully reflecting the assumptions you hold within yourself. And this realization is not just empowering, it is liberating. It sets you free from fear, from limitation, from doubt. It frees you from the belief that you need to earn your blessings or prove your worthiness. Your worthiness has never been in question. Your desires are not random, they are invitations. Invitations to step into a greater version of yourself. Invitations to claim the abundance, joy, and fulfillment that have always been yours in potential. Every time I used that simple phrase, I felt myself responding to that invitation. I felt myself rise into a new identity, not one built on struggle, but one built on trust. Not one built on uncertainty, but one built on knowing. And the more I lived from that knowing, the more effortlessly blessings flowed into my life. It taught me something I will never forget. Life becomes astonishingly generous when you stop arguing with your own power. There were days when I would simply sit in silence, close my eyes, and breathe into the feeling of already having what I desired. I didn't need to force images or create elaborate scenes. I only needed to feel the reality of it. That feeling did all the work. It drew the right circumstances. It rearranged the right events. It placed me in the right situations without me needing to plan or strategize. This is the quiet art of allowing the unseen to take shape, allowing the desire to come to you instead of you chasing it, allowing the power within you to move without resistance or doubt. When I teach this to others, they often ask, what if I don't feel it strongly at first? And I always tell them the same thing. You don't need intensity. You only need acceptance. Even the softest feeling of it being done is enough. Even the smallest shift in your inner speech is enough to begin changing your reality. Because the universe responds to your assumption, not your effort. And when you gently assume the state of the wish fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to follow. It may come through paths you wouldn't expect. It may come through people you never anticipated. It may arrive in timing that feels miraculous, but it will come. It always comes. Every manifestation I ever experienced began with a quiet decision, a decision to believe the inner world over the outer one, a decision to accept the desire as already mine, a decision to trust the unseen. And every time I made that decision, the world responded with results that confirmed the truth I had already accepted within myself. You may not realize it yet, but you are standing on the threshold of your own transformation. You are closer than you think. The moment you shift your inner conversation, the entire universe begins shifting with you. The moment you claim your desire inwardly, life begins preparing the way for it outwardly. This is why your inner world is sacred. This is why your imagination is holy. This is why your assumptions shape everything you experience. Not because life is testing you, but because life is expressing you. You are the source. You are the cause. You are the one who determines which version of yourself the world reflects back to you. And once you understand this, you can no longer see yourself as powerless or limited. You begin to recognize your divinity, your creative capacity, your ability to shape reality from the inside out. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, the more effortless, the more joyful. You begin to manifest without strain. You begin to receive without doubt. You begin to live from a place of deep, unshakable trust in the power that has always lived within you. As you grow more aware of this inner authority, you begin to notice how quickly your world responds. Even small shifts in your assumptions create ripples that move outward into your circumstances. A simple change in inner dialogue, a quiet acceptance of something good, a gentle assumption of being favored. These tiny inner movements start shaping the events of your day with precision and purpose. You may find that people treat you differently, not because they suddenly changed, but because you shifted your concept of yourself. You may notice that opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, not because the world suddenly became more generous, but because your inner state finally aligned with receiving them. You may catch yourself smiling at moments that once would have worried you, because now you see them for what they truly are, echoes of an old identity that no longer belongs to you. This is the gift of inner transformation. It doesn't require force. It doesn't require effort. All it requires is willingness. A willingness to let go of the old story and embrace a new one. A willingness to allow the unseen to carry you. A willingness to believe that something greater is moving through you and for you. There were times in my life when I clung to old states out of fear. Fear of change, fear of disappointment, fear of losing control. But every time I released that fear, every time I relaxed into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, I discovered how unnecessary the struggle had been. The moment I stopped resisting what I desired, it moved toward me naturally. Not slowly, not hesitantly, but confidently, as if it had been waiting for me to say yes. You will learn to trust this process too. You will learn to recognize the difference between forcing and allowing, between hoping and knowing, between wanting and accepting. And once you feel that difference even once, you will never forget it. It becomes a truth you carry with you everywhere, a truth that guides you, comforts you, strengthens you. Sometimes people ask, what if it takes time? What if nothing seems to be happening? And I always remind them that the physical world is the slowest part of the process. The shift happens inside first, long before you see any evidence outside. But once the inner shift is made, the outer must follow. It has no choice. It is law. So if it appears that nothing is happening, don't judge the silence. Don't doubt the unseen. Trust that the roots are growing, even if the fruit hasn't appeared yet. Trust that the desire is unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Trust that your inner acceptance has already set everything in motion. There is a quiet strength in this kind of trust. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It doesn't rush. It simply knows. It holds the end with grace. It walks forward with confidence. It rests in the truth that what is accepted within must express without. And as you continue living from this inner truth, you will find that your desires begin to feel normal to you, not spectacular, not distant, not exaggerated, but natural. You will begin to feel at home in abundance, at home in success, at home in being chosen, at home in receiving blessings. And when that feeling becomes natural, the manifestation becomes inevitable. There is a moment when your desire stops feeling like a possibility and starts feeling like an identity. That moment is everything. That is the moment of creation. That is the moment when the outer world begins shifting to match your inner state. And you may not even notice the exact instant it happens, but you will feel the difference. It will feel like a settled knowing in your chest, a quiet warmth in your heart, a gentle confidence in your speech. And from that point forward, the world responds as if it were always meant to be this way. You begin to understand that you were never trying to manifest something out there. You were manifesting a version of yourself, a version that feels worthy, a version that feels chosen, a version that feels prepared to receive, a version that stands in certainty instead of doubt. This is what the phrase gave me. It wasn't just a technique. It was a doorway into a new identity, a doorway into a reality where my desires were not hopes but truths, a doorway into a life where abundance felt natural, where blessings felt familiar, where wins felt expected. And as you continue practicing this inner shift, you will feel that doorway opening for you as well. You will feel yourself stepping into the version of you who already has what you desire. You will feel the old doubts dissolve. You will feel the old fears fall away. You will feel a new sense of self rising, one built on faith, on imagination, on inner certainty. And the more you inhabit that self, the more your world rearranges to reflect it. As you continue walking in this newfound identity, something beautiful begins to happen. The gap between imagining and receiving becomes smaller and smaller. What once felt distant now feels close. What once felt impossible now feels expected. What once required effort now arrives with ease because you no longer approach life from scarcity. You approach it from fulfillment. You begin to understand that your desires were never asking you to work harder. They were asking you to become someone who could naturally receive them. They were calling you into a higher version of yourself, guiding you gently toward a state where receiving feels as natural as breathing. And when you reach that state, the world around you becomes softer. You stop feeling the need to push. You stop measuring your progress by what you see. You stop fearing delays because you know there is no such thing as delay in consciousness. Everything is unfolding precisely at the pace of your inner acceptance. There were many times in my own journey when life looked still on the outside while everything was already shifting on the inside. If someone had looked at my circumstances in those moments, they might have thought nothing was happening. But I knew better. I could feel the movement, not with my physical senses, but with my inner knowing. I could feel the desire taking form, gently, quietly, inevitably. This inner awareness is one of the most precious gifts you can develop. It allows you to move through life with confidence rather than anxiety, with faith rather than fear. It allows you to walk through moments of uncertainty with a steady heart because you no longer depend on appearances for your truth. Your truth comes from within. The outer world becomes a blank canvas upon which your inner world paints. And you begin to look at life not with desperation, but with curiosity, knowing that every experience is being shaped by your assumptions. This realization brings a sense of empowerment that words can barely describe. You start to notice how easily you can shift your experience simply by shifting your state. A day that began in frustration can turn into a day of blessings the moment you pause, breathe, and step into the feeling of everything already working out for you. A situation that once felt heavy becomes light when you choose the state of ease. A desire that once felt intimidating becomes familiar when you assume it as already yours. And this is where the true joy of creation comes in. You begin to play with your imagination, not as a desperate tool, but as a delightful companion. You begin to explore what it feels like to step into different states. You begin to discover the beauty of selecting who you are in every moment instead of being defined by old stories or outdated assumptions. There were days when I practiced this so gently. I didn't force myself into anything bold or dramatic. I simply asked myself, who am I in this moment? And if the answer didn't feel aligned with my desire, I shifted softly into the state that did. I didn't argue with myself. I didn't criticize myself. I simply moved, the way you move from one comfortable chair to another, and with each shift, life reflected the new state with precision. You may not realize how powerful this is until you experience it firsthand. When you see the world respond to your inner dialogue, even in small ways, something inside you awakens. You begin to understand that this isn't theory. It's law. It's truth. It's the way creation works. It's the reason some people seem effortlessly blessed while others struggle. It has nothing to do with luck. It has everything to do with state. When I finally understood this, my entire relationship with life changed. I no longer felt like I was waiting for something to happen. I felt like I was participating in the unfolding of my own destiny. I felt like I was co-creating with something greater, something deeply loving and infinitely intelligent. And the more I stayed loyal to my inner world, the more the outer world became a reflection of the abundance I felt inside. You will experience this too. It begins slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a shift in the wind. Then it grows stronger, clearer, more undeniable. You will see signs that speak directly to you. You will experience synchronicities that feel tailor-made. You will encounter opportunities that align perfectly with your desire. And each moment will whisper the same message to you. Keep going. Stay loyal to the inner state. You are becoming the version of yourself that your desire belongs to. And as this becomes your natural way of living, you will start to realize something profound. You were never chasing manifestations. You were becoming the one who naturally receives them. You were aligning with the version of yourself who already lives in abundance, already walks in faith, already knows the power of imagination. That version of you has always existed, waiting for you to step into it. And now, as you stand here with this truth, resting gently in your heart, remember this. Nothing separates you from the life you desire except the story you choose to believe about yourself. The moment you dare to claim the end, the moment you whisper to yourself with quiet certainty that it is already done, The universe rushes to meet you with everything you have accepted within. So walk forward now with confidence, with warmth, with faith. Live as the one who is already blessed, already chosen, already fulfilled. Let your inner world shine so brightly that the outer world cannot help but rearrange itself in your favor. You are not hoping anymore, you are knowing, you are not waiting anymore, you are receiving. And life, in all its infinite generosity, is rising to meet the power you have finally remembered within yourself.